tension with China and stuff. Like, what if us, I guess specifically Chinese people, what if we're like the new white people in the future? You know, the white people in the past have been the colonizers and took over people's land and stuff. And then I feel like the way China's conducting themselves on a global scale, you know, we're going to Africa, we're like I don't know about help, but they're building infrastructure in Africa, making all these business deals. Like they're kind of looked at as like neo-colonists, you know, and China's a big powerhouse now and probably for a long time in the future. And what if Chinese people in the future will be looked at as the same way as people are looking at white people now, with like this kind of reverse racism going on?
To me, I don't think it's the same, because colonizers, for one, they plant their flag in the land and they call it part of that country. Like England goes, hey, here, Hong Kong. Okay, stick my, British, I'm doing the Chinese accent for a British person. You know, stick the flag in this Hong Kong soil. It's part of Britain, right? Or, France goes to Vietnam, plants their flag in the soil and actually claims it, you know? And then not only do they put their flag and they penetrate the soil, they impregnate the people there with ideas of their life, you know? So like they spread the language, they spread philosophy, religion, everything, including diseases and all sorts of different things. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's just it's what's happened, and we live with the benefits of that have happened to us. We also have to deal with the history of the pain or whatever, that if we feel it, then we also have to deal with that at the same time. But you can't have the good without the bad. You can't have the bad without the good. You just can't choose to look at just one side and say, oh, it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing. And some good stuff came out of it. And vice versa. You can't just be like happy-go-lucky and be like, oh, what's so bad about the colonization? Whatever. That's what happened back then. Is China sticking their flag in, say, Africa and being like, hey, this is part of Africa, or part of China now. And hold on a second. All you Africans, you gotta speak Chinese. This is the language. And also, you guys also have to be communists because we're communists. Are they spreading themselves out like that, or are they just going, I make money, you make money?
Yeah, they're doing that, but I think they'll probably still kind of own the countries through debt.
Okay, so it's a financial game, and the issue with what China's doing isn't so much spreading creed and religion. It's more so placing a debt upon the people, which they can never, burying people in debt.
With my little knowledge on it, I've heard. Yeah, that's basically what I heard. Yes. Yeah. Like they're helping build infrastructure, buildings, things like that all across like South America, and Africa and stuff. And, ultimately it'll basically be heavily Chinese influenced,
If China plays their cards right, I feel like they'll never have to face the colonizer label. If they play their cards right, say they do well economically, they're going to have the power to control the narrative in some sense. And if they play their cards right with US and they keep the Democrats happy or whatever, or vice versa, whatever it is, they don't have to worry
honestly,
about it.
They don't really
put people in debt. They control the narrative.
I don't think they have to worry about it too much either, because as we know, like whenever the conflict with Russia happened, the US sanctioned Russia really badly. They basically stopped using the Russian rubles, all that kind of stuff. And that led to a problem in itself, because Russia is a big supplier of oil and natural gas for a lot of Europe, a lot of other countries, like Asia, countries in Asia and places like that. And because the U.S. cut out, sanctioned the ruble essentially, or like anything Russian out of the economy, a lot of these, and then so Russia's counter to that was, okay, well, if you're going to sanction us out of your economical world, we're going to only take payments in rubles when it comes to gas and oil. So in the past, the petrodollar, which is basically the US dollar, is the currency that all these countries would use to pay for gas and oil and stuff from everywhere. Like everyone was using a dollar as a standard, as a currency standard to purchase gas and oil. So now with Russia saying, okay, we're not taking any more US dollars, you got to pay us in rubles. So a lot of countries are now dropping the US dollar to pay for these, the commodity of gas and oil and whatever else they might be getting from Russia. And so I think Russia, it's Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They created, and South Africa, I think. They created the BRICS, BRICS. I think South Africa is included. But it's basically like this new economy, the big player in the economy that are basically kind of like breaking out of the US and European-led system of economy, if that makes sense.
They call it the Brexit?
No, it's BRICS. It's BRIC. Yeah,
Brexit.
If it's South Africa, it's like BRICSA, BRICSA. Brexit. But yeah, it's called the BRICS nations. And yeah, basically their whole thing is that they're not using the US dollar as a standard for trading anymore. And so they're basically talking about how the US dollar is kind of on a downfall. I don't know how fast this trajectory is. It is on a downfall. It's still the strongest right now, but who knows when it'll dip below someone else's currency.
Who's the second most powerful?
I'm going to guess China.
Who's right behind him?
I don't know. I'm not very well researched in talking about all this stuff.
I thought it would be like
about this stuff on a surface level.
Yeah.
So if I'm sounding stupid to anybody, I kind of am, or I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert. I feel like I sound stupid all the time. I like to dabble into like stuff here and there. But yeah, I want to say China's probably number 2.
Yeah. I think China's still like a third world country, basically. There's so many like homeless people. I'm not homeless, poor people there, to the point where I don't think they would be considered a developed country. I don't know.
Yet. Yeah, I feel like the
I don't know. I would think a developed country
they might be
in
a
that
second
position.
world country still, because I think second world countries are countries that are still like in their industrial phase.
Yeah. And that's where China's at then. Yeah.